GMB.TV. Hope you're having a good one. What's good? What's good? What's good? So today, we got exactly what was expected. Exactly what was expected. Everybody expected the Fed chair to not move, or the FOMC to not move the rates. That's exactly what we got, and the markets have, responded appropriately, or with that fact. I haven't heard anything that's come crazy out of the FOMC press conference. Nothing out of the way. Nothing that made me go, ooh, nothing. So I'm all right with that. So we just keep trouncing along with our day. But what was the other thing that I told you guys that we're going to have to worry about this week? What was that thing again? What was that thing? That's right. Government funding. Because we're headed toward a shutdown on Saturday. And they're still yapping about it. I'm hoping that they remove certain funding from the overall bill. They already agreed with most of the stuff. Vote on those things. Let that go. Government doesn't shut down, and you can get in on this. And because I think a greater conversation needs to happen with that kind of stuff. But that's just me. But that's the big thing that's looming right now. And the problem is everybody's just wondering, well, what will happen? And I think most people are realizing it's going to happen. The government shutdown is going to happen is the thought process right now. But the question is, how bad is it going to be? My man, Rick Ritchie, how are you? Thank you for letting us know that you invested in yourself today. Greatly appreciate that. And I hope you had a great day too. So I'm sitting back and I'm wondering about that. Like, what's the deal with that? But before we continue that conversation, what major financial institution just launched their stablecoin on Ethereum today? Fundstrat, Kraken, Vanguard, or other? And if you think it's other, drop it in the comments. I'm dying to know. 8 paws into his house, our built-in troublemaker. Yeah, don't let the innocent name fool you. Because, you see paws and you're kind of like, oh, yeah, no, she's a troublemaker. She's a natural-born troublemaker. My man, Hutanic, thank you for letting us know you invested in yourself. We've got Courtney. What's good? What's good? What's good? You're investing in yourself right now. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. You get sent to the corner. Just saying. Just saying. So I'm looking at a whole bunch of things, and I just started looking at the news, and something really caught my attention today. And it's been all the craze for the past few days, and it's this thing called Claudebot. And they had to change the name because it sounded too much like Claude. So, Claudebot. Interesting. So, Claudebot has been associated with all kinds of bad things. Meme coins, spyware, malware. So they changed the name. Just want to make sure you guys are aware that Claudebot is not meant for people that don't know what they're doing technically. Let me say that again. If you don't have the technical prowess to install something like that and to lock it down the way you're supposed to and understand all the steps, don't play with it. And sure as heck, don't install that thing on your real machine where you might be doing banking or anything else. Don't do that. I wouldn't, until I can trust that thing, I wouldn't be giving it access to all too much either. Let me test you out with a throwaway email account first. Let me do that first. Let's play with that. Because it can do some stuff. It can take control. For those of us that are technically inclined, yeah, we're probably not going to install that thing. I know I'm not going to install it. And the reason why is because everything that it does, I already have all of those agents and bots and, software built. I already did all that. I don't want that thing doing anything. It's not battle tested. I can't trust it. It doesn't have guardrails and parameters of operation and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so this is just a PSA. If you do not have the technical prowess, don't play with it. It's very dangerous. It's very dangerous, right? So please be careful if you're doing something like that. Something else that caught my attention. I I almost did a video in the middle of the day because of it. The Claudebot thing, by the way, the Claudebot thing. I stopped dead, and I was like, oh man, I should really do it. And I was like, you know what? We'll catch everybody tonight. Then I noticed something else. So OpenAI had promised they wouldn't do ads, right? And now they're talking about doing ads. My man Stanley, thank you for letting us know you invested in yourself today. That's what's up. And so now they're looking into doing ads because they be going broke. On the feed on Grow My Bag, I actually asked the question, how long do you think OpenAI has? Because they're burning through money. Burning through money. Here's something else that happened today that caught my attention tied to this, which is OpenAI is looking to incorporate personhood, meaning, are you a real person? And because they're thinking about doing personhood, WorldCoin jumped up. Don't know what WorldCoin is? Oh, that's Sam Bankman-Fried. That's Sam Altman's other business, WorldCoin, where they take a picture of your iris and stuff like that to prove that you're a human. You want to know why things are going that way? Oh, I can tell you why. Here's why. AI has already consumed all things man. So now it's cannibalizing, and it's consuming even things that are created by AI. And they kind of want to know, well, what's real and what's fake, or what is synthetic and what's real, right? What's synthetic? Is there any way that I would ever be messing around with WorldCoin? No, but WorldCoin jumped up like 16% today. 16%. Because they spoke about it. And I would tell you, that's some dangerous-ish. Dangerous-ish. Be careful. MLO or EMLO. Do you prefer MLO? Anyway, thank you for letting us know that you're investing in yourself today. I got you, A-Pause. See, troublemaker. She doesn't want to spell it out. Why should I do that? Rick Ritchie already spelled it out. I'll just say ditto. Yeah, I'm picking on you. Because I know you're not driving all the way out here to kick my tail. So I'm not worried. Just saying. Just going to put that out there for you. So yeah, there was a lot of news that happened today that caught my attention. Again, tonight's question, what major financial institution just launched their Ether-based or Ethereum-based stablecoin? And was it Fundstrat, Kraken, Vanguard, or other? Sorry. So, walking through the news, Coinbase expanded prediction markets nationwide to be nationwide in partnership with Kalshi. Kalshi's cutting a lot of deals if you haven't noticed. Kalshi's got some major deals. Like right now, by far, Kalshi is the #1 prediction market. It really is. And again, I have issues with prediction markets only because it's betting. I don't understand why people don't like to associate betting or gambling with prediction markets. People are betting. Those are bets based on whatever thing they're betting on. Sky's going to be blue today. Turns out it's green. Just saying. The sunset on Tuesday is going to be purple. Don't laugh. That happens. You get different shades of purple and violet. That's right. Let's not play. So is that gambling or trading? It's gambling. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise. It's gambling. You're literally betting on an outcome. I don't know how anybody can see it as anything else. It's just that they're saying, well, you're betting on an outcome. All these other people are betting on an outcome. What's the ratio between who's betting on that outcome or the opposite? Same bet. Bet is a bet. I'm not saying there's something wrong with gambling. I'm saying that there's something wrong with changing the packaging of it, considering gambling is so addictive that you have national numbers, local numbers that you can call to speak with people about said addiction. So I don't know that we should be normalizing it to a point where you can bet on anything. I bet that 8 paws really only has 7.5 paws. That, like, really? There are people out there betting on the strangest things. If it gets big enough, it becomes a market. Other people bet, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, nah, it's betting. It's betting. But we should call it that. Predictive markets. When I was a kid, OTB was a predictive market. Off-track betting, for those of us that are not old enough. So yeah, I have a problem with it. I'm not saying that the business should go away or anything like that. I'm just saying that maybe we should think about something else. Maybe we should call it what it is. WorldCoin not going to work. It's like electric vehicles. Everyone is not going to use it. How do I say this without sounding like a prick? I hear what you're saying, Courtney. I hear what you're saying. Why do you think electric vehicles failed? What do you think electric vehicles were a failure? Is that what you're thinking? Because I don't think they were a failure. I think they tested the waters and they took away certain things. They took away that $7,500, what is it, tax write-off or whatever from the government. You save $7,500. They took that away, so it dropped sales. Tesla's still in business. The truth is that I don't think we're meant to own cars anymore. They're showing it to us every day. We had a long conversation the other day about how they are moving toward a subscription model for features in a car that you've already bought. The features are in the car, but remotely they can reach out to your car and turn them on and turn them off. Slight evasion of privacy, maybe. Could be me, but I'm thinking, yeah, in evasion of privacy, right? I'm thinking theft or false presentation, meaning you said, when I buy this car, I'm going to own the car. I bet you they had to change their contracts to say, well, when you buy this car, you don't really own it. Or you own certain aspects of it. But we're not meant to own in the future. We're really not. So when I look at electric vehicles, what's the whole premise for electric vehicles? Let me think about this. Electric vehicles have the potential of going, right now, they don't go as far as a gas guzzler. But there's technology out there that can make it so they can go twice as far as a gas guzzler. Now, if I can go twice as far as a gas guzzler and they cost less to operate, well, wouldn't that mean that everything would be cheaper? Well, cheaper to operate, right? Because so now I can get in a car, driverless, of course, because why pay for a driver when I can control everything remotely? Anywho, I get in the car, like Waymo or whatever the heck. I get in the car, it takes me where I need to be. But instead of just being within the city limits, it could take me out to the suburbs. With the miles that it has, it can take me out to rural areas and drop me off like no problem. You wake up in the city and go, "Hey, hon, let's go to the farm today." Well, you know what? That sounds great, Tom. Let's go to the farm. They call the electric car. The farm's only, hour and a half away. They don't have to drive. They're not fatigued. They can even take a nap in the car. Go out there, go to the farm, pick up their farm honey, get back in the car and come all the way back. Or car goes away, does whatever it's going to do, and another car comes and picks them up. Because the distance is farther. That way you don't have to own a car, you don't have to get a car until you need a car. How many jobs, we always cry about how many jobs are making you go back to the office, but there are still tons of jobs that are remote. They're remote. How often do I use my car now? I'm not driving to the train station. I'm not driving to the bus stop. Most I'm doing is what? Going grocery shopping once a week or something like that, or whatever. I'm not really using my car anymore. Huh. Don't need a car. The only reason I have a car is because I enjoy driving. But then you kick in the idea of it's 7 times 2 people's salaries to buy a house, when it used to be 2 times 1 person's salary. Yeah, so I don't think it's like electric vehicles, man. Electric vehicles are going to make a comeback, and it's going to be a part of the whole lifestyle. Whole lifestyle. I'm telling you, I just think that we're going to have issues. I feel the net mandate for EV vehicles.
What kind of issues are you thinking about? I'm here to help work through whatever's on your mind.
Of course, Alexa wants to chime in, and I never said the word, but that's all right. Proves that they're listening to us. All done with that one. So you start to realize that the world has changed, and not everybody got the memo. It's being quietly done. So when you hear about EVs coming off the market, you're hearing about, oh, this EV sucks, that EV sucks, that EV is really good, that EV is really... There's also a difference between a U.S. car market and the car market in other countries. There's a big difference between the car manufacturers in the United States versus other countries. Just saying. Yeah, I don't mean anything. I feel a mandate for EV vehicles. For example, what California had won't work due to gun-toting constitutionalists who would... Yeah, nah. You're conflating things and make it more political than anything else. No, it's pure technology, and it's all about how much money can I make, if I do certain things. How much money can these companies make? How much money can they squeeze out of you? Oh, you want power steering? Well, that's $2 a month. You want heated seats? $4 a month. Air conditioned seats? Oh, $5 a month. It starts to add up and all that good stuff. And they collect this monthly thing beyond the purchase price of the car. So when you buy a car, the question is, are you actually buying the car? Then you have this new thing with vehicles from 2026 and beyond. If you buy that car, there must be a kill switch in the car so that you can remotely turn off the vehicle. Well, we know Tesla has it because they turned off somebody while they were driving on the highway. Yeah, they bricked somebody's car while they were driving on the highways. Some music artist, and he was driving. He had put his Cybertruck in a video, and they didn't like it, and so they bricked his car. So let's understand this. You buy a car, you lease a car, it's supposed to be your car. If I make my payments and I do everything else, why are you getting inside my car without my permission? You're going to see a whole bunch of people I think there's going to be a new business about how to hack into a car and turn things off. Turn off the ability for remote connectivity to your car. Of course, that's going to spawn another business, which is, how do I get the maintenance notifications from my car? And will that void all my warranties? And it absolutely will, just like with computers and software, all that good stuff. It's going to be a pain in the tail, but I think that battle is coming. That battle is coming. That's the intricate administrative battle. Don't forget that with all these self-driving cars, what happens? All those people lose jobs. That's coming. That's not even coming. That's actually here. Self-driving semis, self-driving cars. Yeah, that's already here. It just hasn't proliferated yet, but it's on its way. Captain Banana, how are you today? Have you invested in yourself? Thank you for letting me know you invested in yourself. Did you see the test of Chinese technology against... I have no idea what you're talking about. Um, oh, now I understand what you're talking about. I did not see that, but I've said it before. I'll say it again. China is coming out with technology that seems really, really next level. Okay? Hold the phone. People are going to start thinking, oh, China's got better tech and blah, blah, blah. No, I do not believe they have better technology. What I believe is they're releasing better technology. Understand what I'm saying? I'm not saying that China has better technology than any other country. I'm saying that they're releasing the better technology. I don't think there's anything that's going on in China that we can't do here in the United States or in other countries. I don't think there's a single thing. Difference is that when they achieve the goal, they release it. When they achieve the goal, they release it. A lot of people have you thinking that, let's say AI just came out a few years ago. What, 3 years ago? It didn't. It's been around for a long time. Text to speech? Yeah, AI. Speech to text? AI. Been around for eons. Been around for eons. And then somebody introduced ChatGPT to the world. Oh, that's really nice. China released Qwen 3, or the first version of Qwen. There was Qwen 1, 2, whatever. So they released Qwen. And then DeepSeek came along because it worked off of the platform for DeepSeek was Qwen. And so when DeepSeek came out, everybody was like, holy moly. That was the first warning shot across the bow. I don't think there's a single technology that exists in China that we can't do here, that we haven't done here already. It's just that somebody said, well, we're not done milking the public from that money yet, so we'll hold off on that. This isn't like Japan. This is not like Japan, where I gave this example the other day, where you had Panasonic with the transistor radio with the one white cord going into one ear, mono. Japan was like, oh, bet. And they came out with stereo headphones. That was actually the next step. We didn't have that yet. They did. They innovated. What China is doing is not necessarily innovation. What they're doing is doing a hell of a lot more with a hell of a lot less. That's what they're doing. So while they still have to use H200, GPUs from NVIDIA, they're still building the technology within China so that they don't have to worry about that anymore. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. They want to be self-dependent. AI has been around since 1956. Yup. Just saying. People think that things are new. The difference is that now when it came out this time, it came out in regular people's hands. It came out in regular people's hands. Something else about OpenAI. OpenAI came out and they said, we want to launch this new science thing. Great, that's awesome. But remember, they also announced that, well, we're also looking into taking a piece of your money if you use our tool to create something. How do you prove that? Oh, well, we're watching every single thing that you do on our platform. Yeah, that's why you have a whole bunch of people that are going, yeah, I'm not going to use that anymore. I will take the time to load up my own and do my own thing. If you're a company and you really are working on something new, you're going to load your own. Let me tell you something else. If you're doing a whole bunch of research and you're having AI help you do that research, let's suppose you're writing a book, you're doing all this research. When you publish the book and it goes bestseller, are they going to be looking for a piece of your money? Well, you did a lot of your research using AI. Maybe you checked your words using AI. Well, where does it end? It's a slippery slope, is it not? Well, if you innovate and create something, is it a far cry to say, well, you created your book with this? I had it, edit my book. Or I had it help me research some things while I wrote my book. Is that innovation? Did I create something new? Oh, I created a book. That's right. Oh, well, you created a book and you used our tool during that process. We're going to have to take some money of yours. Huh? Desperation model is settling in. The desperation model is settling in a major fashion. A Chinese branded watch was from a reputable, well-known company, Huawei. The United States won't let Huawei tech in because it's Chinese, and the U.S. government says, "Oh, well, they have a whole bunch of stuff in their chips and stuff and blah blah, bloody bloody blah." So nothing else from China has that. How many? What? 75%, 80% of the goods that we get in this country are from China, which is right. Where are the toys made? China. A lot of these toys have what? Chips in them. Huh? Can't have that argument both ways. Cannot have that argument both ways. The math doesn't math. It's like I said, in this case, it's not like Japan, where Japan was actually being innovative. I don't think China's at that innovative level yet right now. Not yet. But they are showing signs. And some people are sitting there going, what signs? Well, I don't know. What is it? ASML is the only company in the world that builds the wafers necessary for certain things. Well, great. They have a jury-rigged version, not nearly as good, but they have a jury-rigged version of it that they made in their freaking cave. Proving that ASML is not the only company that's capable of coming up with something like that. The old guard is stalling these bills while they build out their own blockchain that the people can't audit. Possible. And some people will be like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to be that guy and say that's a conspiracy theory. Case in point. When did weed start becoming legal? When did they start letting weed become legal? I'll give you a hint. It was when all the tobacco companies were able to keep up with the weed business. There are way more examples than that, but that's the simplest one. It's when certain companies or certain countries can keep up with something, then it becomes legal because now the right people or the right entities can wet their beak. Facts. So when I look at these things, I'm kind of like, yeah, we should probably pay attention to this. We should probably pay attention. And it's not little things. It's not little things. Where I look to invest is completely driven by what do you do? What's your use case? Some questions that I ask about crypto, the same questions I ask about stocks, vice versa. And then I break out separate kinds of questions for each revenue model that I want to use or each investment vehicle I want to use. Real estate, stocks, stock market, crypto, buying a business, selling a business, all of that. I start looking at it. But right now, I looked at Sam Altman talking about, oh, we might do ads and, oh, we want to come out with this science thing. You had a lot of people when they made that announcement today, oh, we're coming out with this whole science thing. And people were kind of like, that's cute. We have a problem with privacy, please. Care to address? But it's literally they're saying, well, if you come up with a new drug using our system, well, yeah. And some people are like, well, how would you do that? Well, because you're asking AI to look at a whole bunch of data and try to find patterns or whatever it is within that data, go find me the needle so I can examine the needle to see how pointy it is. So I can determine the size, the length, the girth, the size of the hole to see how it got lost in the haystack, let's say. But if I come up with a new chemical formula that we couldn't think of because we weren't there yet, that one right there. You're thinking Huawei? I've never heard of Huawei. I've heard of Huawei. Huawei. I think is how they spell it. Huawei. It's pronounced Huawei. But I've never heard of Huawei. Doesn't really matter, right? Think about what I'm saying. It doesn't really matter what company came out with what. It matters that China is releasing. When China comes up with something new, not necessarily innovative, not necessarily cutting edge, but when they come up with something new, they immediately release it because the whole push behind China is for the betterment of all of the people because they have to think like that because they have so many people. Or they thought they had so many people. Have you heard in the news? China might have miscounted because some municipalities might have miscounted the number of people. Yep. So we actually don't know how many people are in China. Just news. My man, Michael McCaskill, thank you for letting us know you invested in yourself today. What is your top? I don't have a top for silver. I don't have a top for gold. Do I think it runs until 2020 $ of come back to earth in 2026? Or did you mean 2028? Nope, you didn't. I have no idea. You know what I first do? I first look at, well, what's the situation? What are they addressing? What's being addressed? Why are people running to silver? Why are people running to gold? Tether just went out and said, yeah, we bought a whole bunch of gold that you guys probably don't realize. And we're going to continue to buy gold at a ridiculous rate because we make about $4 billion a quarter and counting and rising rather. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. Somebody asked the other night, like, where do they get all that money? I almost giggled. They make a lot of money. But Captain Banana, do you understand what I'm saying? You could be totally right with that. You could be totally right that there are two different companies. You could be totally right with that. My argument is that China's not even at the innovative level yet. For certain things. What I'm saying is that, oh, well, I have a car. It doesn't cost a lot to put the stuff in the car. It costs me more to not put that stuff in the car. Just put it in the car. And how much did it cost to actually make the car? Well, it could be being subsidized. What's the real price of the car versus everything else? Still probably cheaper than what we have here. That's the problem. It really doesn't matter if we use Huawei networks to move Monero. If it's a private blockchain, doesn't matter. When we send out the H200 chips, don't you think that on their side of the fence, they're thinking the same thing, that there are chips, there are things in those chips that are not good for them, that they could be phoning home? We've already been on record, and NVIDIA's been on record, like, yeah, well, you know, there are things in those chips that let us know that our chips aren't being misused. Or whatever. So kind of the same thing on both sides. That's the beautiful thing. It doesn't, but it's funny as hell. I couldn't have said it better. I could just stop right there with that subject. Like, dead serious. So do you think Tether really believes in Bitcoin? Huh? Courtney, you're asking a question that is trying to conflate two different things. One has nothing to do with the other. Tether also has XAUT, which is a coin pegged to gold. They also have Tether, and they want to have, I mean, they have USDT, which means that they want to make sure that they have reserves. And they also have $4 billion every quarter that they make, and they would like to invest it, which is why they also run around investing in different things. Gold is going to be one of those things that they invest in. It's not just for their reserves. So, yeah, that's how I would look at that. It's not a belief in Bitcoin. I don't think they would be in this business if they didn't believe in Bitcoin. But their business, they chose this business because it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. Do they hold a lot of Bitcoin? Yeah, they hold a lot of Bitcoin. But they also hold a lot of other assets. They also invest in a whole lot of other different companies. They got into agriculture, like they're getting into a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, what do you do when you just make that kind of money? When you can dependably count on, even you said they only make $3 billion a quarter. That's still $1 billion a month. $1 billion a month. Even if we just said it was only $1 billion a month. So it depends on what they're talking about. So they have two different pools of operation, right? This pool is going to be, we've got to have reserves for the coins that we have. And then on the other side, we need to make sure that we have investments so that we're making money in other ways. So that, the profit that we get from here, we're doing something with it. Yeah. And they diversify like a mofo. And thank you, Emla. They diversify like champs. Like nobody's business. Go do some research on them. They do a lot. They do a lot. With the FOMC doing what they did, with everything kind of being set, right? Like I said, the only other thing that I'm worried about, that I'm truly worried about, is a government shutdown. I'm not really worried about the shutdown. I'm more concerned with how long would they be willing to drag out the shutdown. The last shutdown was 43 days. So how long would this be? That's what I'm thinking about. And I'm wondering if people are waking up and going, the new regime is, they really can't do anything. They're not going to be able to run for office again. Nobody's going to go for that. And even if they did, that would mean that there are other people that could also run for a third term. Oops. Dead serious. So it would be a problem. It would be a massive problem. So I'm just thinking from an economic perspective, what are we doing on the global stage? We still have only 2 official deals. We only have 2 signed deals. Everything else is a framework for a deal. Right? A plan of a plan. Those aren't deals. We've got 2. One of them is Cambodia, and I forgot what the other one is. Just wasn't memorable. Meanwhile, you have countries like India cutting massive deals. You're not hearing about those massive deals all too much in the United States. They announced it, they said it, and then they let it go. They don't want to talk about that. So on the global stage, what's our economic interest? And on U.S. soil, what's our economic interest? I think right now people are realizing that it's harder to muck around with the economy. It's much harder to mess around with the economy now without people noticing. Just because you're in power and you can do it doesn't mean that people aren't noticing and seeing that that's not necessarily right. You have yet to say anything about solving our debt problem. The current solution for the debt problem is we're going to devalue the dollar. That's not a long-term solution. Any economist will tell you that. It's not a long-term solution. So, what's the impact? What do I see that's going on? One of the things that people are really screaming about now is, Why does everybody in Congress get to have, get to do insider trading and nobody else does? Maybe we should cut that out. Mind you, the only reason why that conversation is moving on is because just make sure you don't put the presidency in that whole mishigash. If that was there, then he wouldn't still be running his companies, right? He wouldn't be sending his non-government employee son-in-law every place where he wants to cut a deal, and next thing you find out, there's a building that's going to have a certain name on it. There's construction that's going to happen. There's this, there's that. There's got to be a separation, and I think people are starting to notice that, oh, wow, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. So how long is it going to be before change happens? Again, do your own research, know your entries and exits, and absolutely invest deliberetely. There's no solution and never will be able for the date they gone. For the date they done. Okay, you deleted it. All right. I was in the middle of reading it. Strive Bitcoin empire soars. $1.1 billion bet sparks market shocks. Today, Strive revealed it now holds over $1.1 billion in Bitcoin, and this is after they bought Semler Scientific, who had been a Bitcoin treasury firm. They converted to be that. No joke, right? We know, Captain Banana, Siri hates you. Nice correction. Of course, copper's taking off. Kind of to be expected. It's funny how things are operating right now. It's really funny. To me, it is. Right? Top Wall Street firms, including JP Morgan and Citadel. JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon and his crew. Citadel, Ken Griffin and his crew, met with the SEC on Tuesday to address regulatory concerns over digital assets, and specifically DeFi. Why is that? Oh, because they're both on the banking industry side of things. Yeah. And decentralized finance has them create bricks out of certain stuff. That's where that is right now. There will never be a solution on paying the debt down because they will never come into agreement on the subject. Oh, you can simplify that. They don't ever want to have that conversation. But people are going to make us have that conversation. Do you think our debt can just stay there? We pay toward that debt. It's just that if you're holding my debt, you're holding my note. If I go bust, what do you get? Between Jack and Squat. I'm going to put it bluntly, and I hope all of you understand this. If the whole world went against the United States, the whole world would cease to exist, including the United States. So that's not really an option, right? That's not really an option. Having us default on the debt, again, not really an option. You're in a position where you want to slap the crap out of the bear, but you really don't want to poke the bear. See what I mean? But you're dealing with a bear that doesn't really have common sense. The bear is kind of like, well, I'm gonna continue to do dumb stuff. I'm gonna use the word tariff, and I'm gonna make it so it doesn't mean anything. I'm gonna make it so that other countries don't even flinch now. When I use the word tariff, it hurts my country, and other countries do not even flinch anymore. Yeah. That's the thing. We have other countries right now, especially in the EU, that are saying the old world order as you knew it is gone. Stop and think about what that means. That's not just an economic thing. Break that down to what it means across the board. The old world order is gone, is what they're talking about now. And we're going to have to find other ways to figure things out. That's one hell of a wow moment. One hell of a wow moment. And people aren't thinking about it. People aren't talking about it. But those are facts that are going on right now. And so when I look at the news, I'm not just looking at news resources here. I'm looking at news resources around the world, and I'm trying to corroborate things. But we said they did this. What are they saying they did? That kind of thing. So when another country comes up with, we're going to tax like this, we're going to do this, do that. I'm going to that country and I'm trying to find out, well, is that what you're doing? Or is it just propaganda on our side? Modern day wild, wild west. Rick Ritchie, do you have a mic in your hand that you just dropped? I think you have a mic you had a mic in your hand and you just dropped it. Yeah, that one. Modern day wild, wild west. The world is trying to figure out what the heck is going on now. Because for the countries that were on our side, Big Brother done going nuts. So what's that mean? Other countries trying to slowly drip debt. You're holding on, like China, you drop $10.1 billion in U.S. debt. That's cute. You still have over $1 trillion that you're holding in U.S. debt. 10 billion didn't do anything, especially since you're letting it drip. Japan sent a message, which is why we're not saying anything to Japan. Japan dropped 50 billion in one shot. Boom. And they're holding on to a lot of debt. Japan dropped 50 billion in one shot. Boom. And it was enough to rock our world. It's enough to rock our world. So you have $10 billion in debt being dropped by China, another few billion more being dropped by India. All these other countries making deals with each other. We're not. We're not. India just came up with the crazy deal with the EU, and we have nothing. We've walked away with nothing. We've made 0 deals. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We've only made 2 deals. New buy in the green. Always wait for the pullback. Gold has 10x left in the tank. SLV is nice. Gold is the store of value, right? Silver is a good store of value, but it also has use case. Number 1 electricity conductor on the planet. Silver could be the one. The question is, which one has more to go? I think silver has more to go. Gold will continue to go up, but I think that silver could multiple more. Just saying. Just saying. Somebody saying that Japan is a U.S. province. No. No, I wouldn't say it like that. You can say that about Israel. But away from politics, I'm just looking at the money of it all. I'm just looking at money and how money moves. How value is moving. I want to hear what the entities up here are talking about, how they're moving value, how they're identifying and acquiring value. That's what I'm paying attention to. Can you imagine walking in with 1 ounce of gold and expecting the store to have the money to pay you. Yeah, that's not going to happen. You're right. That's not going to happen. I've said this once before. Gold would have to reach 29,000 per ounce to equate to today's money supply. I don't know what that means. You mean 29,000 per ounce to equate to today's money supply? I don't know the math on gold, like how much gold that we know of. Because you have places like Venezuela that still have tons of gold in the ground. They just don't have the capability of getting it out right now. Facts. So if you mean 29,000 an ounce, really? I don't think so. Or you have money supply mixed up. Like, what do you mean by money supply? Like, what's the actual amount of money on the planet? Actual money. Not credit, money. You have to start with that number. You have to start with that number first. So, no more pennies being made. Yep. Why are no more pennies being made? I really want people to stop and think about this. Why are there no more pennies being made? Well, because you're not going to use cash anymore. That's like the first step of phasing everything out. So if you wanted to pay for something in cash, if you don't have the exact cash for that, either the store's going to eat those few pennies or you're going to eat those few pennies. And most likely you're going to eat those few pennies. You ever see Superman, what was it, Superman 3 with Richard Pryor? Where at the gas station he realized that, there are those few extra decimals that are there and he was siphoning off from those few decimals to make money. Yeah, that. I think the poop hits the fan start of second quarter. What poop? I'm not being funny. What poop? Be specific. What poop? Only real money is coins. Are you talking digital assets or do you mean physical coins? Because I can tell you now, like the physical coins, yeah, they're not worth that much. The metal's not the same. You flick a quarter in the air now or a silver dollar in the air now, it's not a silver dollar. They don't make those anymore. It costs 4 cents to make 1 penny. I recall hearing something like that. 100,000 gold brings us to 80% debt to GDP at the 8,100 tons of gold. What 81 tons of gold? Metric tons? Is that on the planet? Like I don't have a baseline for the numbers that you guys are spewing out. And you need a baseline for that. You need a baseline and a chart to actually show people like what does that mean. But I think one of the issues is that, and I'm not saying that to be funny, by the way. I'm saying it because a lot of people aren't going to understand the math. The way I'm breaking it down is, Emilo, you have a problem. You have a mental issue. Go stand in a corner. He's dead serious. That's dead right. But I think one of the issues that we all have right now with regard to money is that we hear all these lofty numbers about money when it's really money plus credit, not just money. And there's far more credit than there is actual money. Once you understand that concept, you start asking questions the way I'm asking. But what numbers are you using? What numbers do they represent? That's when you get there and you're like, oh, now I know what you mean. So in addition to all the news that happens, by the way, we got to almost none of the news. Kraken, a US-based crypto exchange, launched DeFi Earn, a service enabling users to access decentralized finance earning opportunities without complex wallet setups or on-chain steps. The product converts deposits into stablecoins and routes them into vaults managed by Veda, Chaos Labs, and Sentosa, offering up to 8% APY, initially available in most US states, Canada, and the European Economic Area. I was going to be evil and I was going to make that tonight's poll question, but I was like, that's too deep. That's too deep. They take your deposits and automatically flip them into stablecoins and let those stablecoins be managed by those three companies. And they kick back 8% APY. And I told you that JP Morgan, Citadel, a couple other banks, a couple other financial institutions met with the SEC to talk about what? DeFi. How does a bank keep up with 8% returns, 8% APY? How? Again, not trying to be funny, just trying to put things in perspective. Kraken is not that big of a company either. You could probably snatch Kraken up for like what? 30 billion? Let's call it $100 billion and you can get your hands on Kraken. Let's call it $100 billion because at this point, I don't know what their valuation is. Months ago, you could say their valuation was $15 billion. I don't know what their multiple is, what their multiplier is. Would they trade at what X earnings? I have no idea. What's the value? What's the true value of that company that comes with each one of these pieces? Bank, crypto exchange, stock trading platform, broker dealer, like the combination that they have. How do you value that business? Because this time, I think the whole is going to be a multiple of the sum of all the parts. Because they're being quiet and they're just coming out with small things. They're integrating this, integrating that, doing this, doing that. And the next thing you know, poof. Just saying, I think that that's something to look at. Their excuse why they don't make pennies anymore doesn't wash with me. 3.7 cents for a penny and 13.78 cents to make the nickel. Or so they say. So are we saying that we don't know how to manufacture? Like Rich Richie, I'm agreeing with you, by the way. So are we saying we don't know how to manufacture? Because that's what that is, right? You're manufacturing a penny, you're manufacturing a nickel. Are we saying we don't know how to do that? How long have we been doing this? And you mean to tell me the technology behind all this stuff hasn't gotten cheaper? Our U.S. mints aren't solar powered, wind powered, or whatever. We haven't figured that out yet. I'm just saying. Yeah, that math doesn't math with me either. It does not math with me either. The decimal system is what really created our debt value in America. I don't know about that. It has become a minimal unit of accounting because it lost all value. How can I say this without sounding like a prick? I don't think there's any way that I can say what I'm about to say without sounding like a prick. So I'm just going to apologize up front for sounding like a prick. We're having the wrong conversation. Who cares that they're taking away the penny? We should be looking at what does that mean going forward? It's all a chosen path, right? They know they're taking away the penny to start a process. What's the chosen path and what's the impact? They get everybody mired in so many different things that we stop asking the questions that are up here. If you don't understand the strategy, you'll be mired in the detail. And most likely wired into and mired up in the wrong detail. I don't care that it costs 3.7 cents or 4 cents to produce a penny. I care that they're taking the penny away, which means that I'm probably not going to use physical cash anymore, which I don't normally do now, right? Everything will become digital. And if everything's already digital, then we require a CBDC, or we require certain laws and rules and regulations and guardrails for stable coins to act like CBDCs, because we say we're not going to have a CBDC. Yeah. Kind of asking the wrong questions. So again, I apologize if I was sounding like a prick. But yeah, we're asking the wrong questions. We're allowing ourselves to be pushed into conversations that don't matter. Where we're down here discussing the cost of a penny, they're up there already thinking about how to remove the paper. They've already solved the coin problem, and they've already kicked it off with the penny, right? This is what I mean. And then they want to be able to see and control everything, right? Which brings me back round robin to what Hutanik and I think Rick Ritchie were talking about earlier, which is, so if they have their own blockchain that nobody can audit, is the public really going to go for that? Because what's the point of the blockchain? That one. And for a blockchain to actually work, to move value, there has to be a certain trust in the value of that blockchain, right? Or else what value are you moving? So what's the new definition of value? What's the new definition of money? Because I'm holding a stylus in my hand. Is that going to be the new money? Because at this point, almost anything can, right? You're going to have RWA get involved. You're going to have all these things that are going to get involved in everything. And you have to stop and think about, well, what's the end game? What's the end game? I mean, is it going to be like Star Wars and there's still money? Or is it going to be like Star Trek and the money's not a concept that they deal with anymore? It's not a thing. Which way are we going? Which way are we going? Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on Crypto for GrowMyBag.tv. To answer your question, tonight's question, what major financial institution just launched their stablecoin on Ethereum today? Fundstrat, Kraken, Vanguard, or other? Well, it ain't none of those. It is indeed Fidelity. So I know for a fact that Rick Ritchie and 8 Paws got that right. FIDD is the new coin. And some people are asking, well, in an already saturated space, what does that mean for Fidelity? Fidelity has trillions of dollars in assets under management. So even if they use that coin within their own ecosystem, that's a good thing. But I can guarantee you will start to see who's got stable coins and what clicks are going to move with what stable coins. Remember that's what happened in Europe. You have different clicks, different pockets that are coming together to say, we have our stable coin, we have our stable coin. And then sooner or later, you're going to see those pockets start to maneuver those stable coins amongst each other. There will be survivors, and then there will be victims. And then what I'm calling the great consolidation and culling of the digital space. Just saying. They're all branded. What are you talking about? They're all stable coins are branded. They're all branded. Fidelity has one. PayPal has one. Ripple has one. They're all branded already. It's a matter of who's using what stable coin. Depends on the deal that you cut, right? what's going to be what denomination that deal is going to cover. There's a lot going on that we need to pay attention to. A lot going on. But I think that you're going to see over the next few years, banded. Rick Ritchie is having a fight with Siri too. So in that case, I don't think they're all going to be banded together. But that's what I mean by consolidation and culling. I think that various groups of financial institutions are creating the stable coins that they trust amongst their financial institutions. And then a trust will be made between that group and this group where they don't mind interchanging each other's stable coin. And then there'll be this one. Then there'll be this one and this one. And then the number of stable coins will diminish because they'll only be working with those stable coins. Consolidation and culling. Consolidation, where you're bringing things together, and then culling, where you're just literally just cutting those off. But stable coins is a huge market. It's a huge moneymaker. Ask Tether. Ask Tether. $4 billion every quarter. And that number is from like a year and a half ago. I don't know what the new number is right now. Just saying. Anyway, everybody, this is Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Hope you like what I'm doing. If you do me a favor, smash the likes. It definitely helps us with the algorithm. Become a member. Go over to growmybag.tv. Become a member. Join in on the conversation that's going on the feed, as well as check out the tons of articles that we have on the site. Everybody, this is Eddie J for crypto. Eddie J on crypto for growmybag.tv. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And as always, thank you for your trust, as well as the outstanding conversations that we have. Everybody have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow morning on the daily at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good one. Bye-bye.